Hey guys, welcome back to this beautiful day. So let's just enjoy the weather and why not upgrade my arcade machine with some parts that are just laying around. Yeah, are you interested? Let's take a look. Back in 2013 I was thinking on getting an arcade machine. A real arcade machine, restore it and assemble a MAME computer with parts that I had laying around, filling it up with all the emulators and ROMs I already had on a backup hard drive. But my wife didn't quite share this same thought, besides not having money to invest on such a dream like that, or even to have the free time required to build something like it from scratch, cause by then my kid was really little and required our full-time attention due to all the things that happened during pregnancy that I've described on my Alley Cat episode released a couple years ago. So I looked upon one of my Billy IKEA bookshelves that I already had and thought that it could somehow blend into my space and create something different but functional. I was aiming for a simple and really light build, avoiding components like huge and super heavy CRTs. I know that CRTs are the best for retro gaming. I know all that, but if you live near the ocean, you know that there's a few hugely important details that we must take into consideration, and CRTs can't simply last long in such a stressed environment. All my CRTs died, a 32 and 26-inch 4x3 Sony Black Trinitron flat panels for my older systems like the Mega Drive and Dreamcast, and a beast of a 32-inch 16x9 Panasonic, in where I used to play with my PS2 and original Xbox. I loved all those screens and they simply died on me after about 4 or 5 years. It's really sad just to think about it, and when I tried to get someone to fix them, they would come up with completely insane numbers. It was when I embraced the LCD technology, and this one that I'm using on my MAME arcade cabinet was my very first LCD that I've kept all these years. It's a 19-inch model from 2004 that always worked flawlessly, and the aspect ratio and resolution are perfect for my retro gaming sessions. On my main TV, and when it comes to consoles, I have only plugged in the ones that were released in this new millennium: the PS2, the Xbox 360, the original Xbox, the PS3, the Wii and the PS4. All my older consoles are stashed away and boxed mainly cause I wasn't playing on them that much, and most sincerely, I prefer a good old arcade stick for all those older systems from the 80s and 90s right till the 3D era. Well, I still enjoy playing N64 games on my arcade cab. As for the original PlayStation and Dreamcast, I prefer the real thing, and despite having also emulators for the ZX Spectrum and the Amiga installed on my MAME arcade cabinet, the real hardware and feeling of typing stuff on their respective keyboards have such a huge dose of nostalgia that no console can simply offer. The same applies to DOS gaming, and with a Model M, it's the most enjoyable typing experience ever. No other can still come close to it. But we're not here to talk about that stuff. We're here to see in what way have I upgraded my dedicated MAME PC, and for that, let's start by taking out all the old components and replace those with newer ones. In between, let's just clean the place up. Dust is tricky and can really prevent things from working properly. So, the old specs were composed basically by an AMD dual-core Opteron processor running at 2.2 GHz with 2 GB of DDR memory, an ATI Radeon HD 2600 XT graphics card with 256 MB of dedicated RAM, and a 1TB hard disk with 2 partitions, one with 50 GB containing only the OS and the rest for the front end and emulators. The motherboard used in my old MAME arcade build was a DFI RS482 Infinity based on the ATI Radeon Express 200 chipset. The new specs include an Asus motherboard model P5Q SE2 based on the Intel P45 chipset, that houses an Intel Core 2 Duo E6400 running at 2.13 GHz with 4 GB of DDR2 memory, and NVIDIA GeForce 9800 GT with 1 GB of dedicated GDDR3 RAM and the same 1 TB hard disk drive. For this build, I opted not to use the onboard audio, so I went to a dedicated audio card that came from my main PC that suffered a huge and extremely important upgrade recently. I'll probably make a video showcasing my main rig in where I play modern games and put the show together. There was also a wireless SMC PCI board that would allow me to connect to my Wi-Fi network, but I will replace it for a newer and faster USB wireless adapter from TP-Link. Let's fire it up for the first time and see if everything is properly connected. Yeah, no issues to point out. Everything looks good. Now let's check the BIOS and see if all the specs are displayed correctly. The processor and memory are just like it was supposed to be. Apparently all the options are set correctly. About the audio card, I'm now using my good old and trustworthy Asus Sonar DS PCI board that can really enhance those awesome and amazing 8 and 16-bit tunes from the past with such extreme fidelity and punch, also provided by the extreme quality of Creative Labs regarding their audio line of products. For my MAME arcade cab, I have plugged in this 4.1 sound system that simply rocks the place down. Let's now install the OS using a flash drive. First, I need to be sure that the system will try to boot first from a removable device, so I went for the 64-bit version of Windows 7, one of the most reliable operating systems out there, and perfect for this particular build. The installation went flawlessly and took no more than 12 minutes. I'll probably upgrade in the future the main boot device to a solid-state drive, so that everything runs a bit faster. In between, I've made a few changes to the cabinet itself, trying to hide the cables from those 4 speakers that always looked horrible, and by doing that, I also managed to get a cleaner and nicer look to the whole cabinet or bookshelf if you prefer. I even scored extra space on top to display a few items that were stashed away in boxes, like these 2 sealed and never used Mad Catz controllers, one for the PS2 and the other for the Dreamcast. There's also an official Sega controller for the Dreamcast and also for the Dreamcast, another third-party controller by Topway. Now, and when it comes to the front end used, in my older build I was using m.a.m.e, a super light front end, simple to use and to set up. Now for this a bit more powerful system, I went for the amazing launch box that is a mix of m.a.m.e with Hyperspin. It combines the best of those 2 worlds. I'm loving it, and the premium pack is totally worth it. It's super easy to set up, and it even connects to m.a.m.e.'s website to automatically download media related to each one of my systems and ROMs. Everything becomes available: the cover art, video clips, the synopsis, screenshots, year of release, well, everything really. It's still a work in progress though, and the huge fanbase created around it is freaking awesome and always ready to help out. It completely blew me away when I started playing around with it, and the developers even publish weekly videos on how to configure a specific emulator or other related subject. It's really amazing all the hard work that was put into this amazing package of software. I highly recommend it. So let's try a few games on a bunch of different emulators, cause I'm really eager to try them out. Let's start with the arcade version of Chase HQ, for instance. What an amazing game, and in where I spent so many coins back in late 80s. I used to play games at my local arcades and was always looking forward to see them released for my favorite systems from that era, firstly for the ZX Spectrum, soon followed by the Amiga. This is still one of my favorite games ever made.
You're under arrest for suspicion of first-degree murder.
Doom on the 32X is cool for a bit, but nothing beats the DOS original. Never played Cabal on the NES, so I'm gonna play it now for the very first time, just because! I totally support emulation. Emulation is synonymous of preservation, and I wouldn't have the chance to try certain games if it wasn't for emulation. And what about Streets of Rage 2? Man, how I love this game! And the music is something to behold! What a piece of programming awesomeness! Sonic on the Master System was the first Sonic game I've ever played. A cousin of mine got the system on his birthday and we spent the whole day playing it. So much fun and one of the best Sonic games ever made. Bloodlines was the only Castlevania title available for Mega Drive and Genesis players, and is one hell of an entry into the series. It is, in fact, one of my favorites on the system and the whole franchise. I simply had to play this one, my favorite game on the ZX Spectrum, Batman the Movie. When I first tried this game on my 128K, and after those long minutes of waiting for the whole game to load, I was blown away by the amazing soundtrack. So good. I was never into one-on-one fighting games, but I recall that Fatal Fury was one of the most requested cabinets at the arcades, back when it was released in 1991. Everyone wanted to be the king of fighters, an amazing game with a fantastic atmosphere and ambience. The Metal Slug franchise is one of the most fondly recalled series that had its origins at the arcades, and this third installment may well be my favorite. I have it in physical format for the PlayStation 2, and it is, until today, one of my favorites on the system. Finished it countless times.
Your words are as empty as your soul. Mankind ill needs a savior such as you.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets. But enough talk. How about you? How about you?
And to finish, a bit of Symphony of the Night, that is, for many, the pinnacle of the Castlevania series. There's no words to describe this masterpiece. Simply one of the best games ever made. I've had a lot of ground to cover, mainly when it comes to those old home computers from the 80s, but I'm really pumped up to truly dig deep into it. So guys, I truly hope that you've enjoyed this in-depth look onto my sort of arcade cabinet. I'm really proud of my work, and I know that for many of you, this isn't at all the way to go when it comes to fully enjoy those classic games from the past. For me though, it's perfect, it's functional, and the most used system in my man cave. Everyone wants to have a slice of it. It's also my private jukebox, cracking really loud those incredible and memorable retro gaming tunes that always remained carved in the back of my mind since my youth. Feel free to browse the channel for a lot other retro gaming related videos. Also, don't forget to like, to comment, to share, to subscribe and click on that bell icon so that you're notified when the next video becomes available. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode.